This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Eldorado Gaming. Eldorado Gaming is your site for gifts and gaming accessories like dice, playmats, and other items to bling out your games. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Eldorado Gaming, or our home site at eldoradogaming.com. Here at My Mythical Meta, we talk about gaming with friends and strangers, resolving conflicts, and keeping game nights fun, interesting, and recurring. Our game of choice is Magic the Gathering, but our hope is that what we share is relevant for board game players, RPG groups, and maybe even your poker night. I'm Travis. With my friends Derek, Randy, and Benjamin, we've been playing Magic together since 2014, and every game day is fresh and exciting. We've got families, we've got jobs, but with the power of friendship, our games go on. Subscribe to My Mythical Meta, presented by Eldorado Gaming, wherever you get your podcasts. So this is the new podcast brought to you by Eldorado Gaming. Our podcast is called My Mythical Meta. The four of us, my name's Travis. We've also got
Derek,
Randy,
and Benjamin.
All right, and these are the people that I play games with all the time, especially over the summers. We meet once a week, or during the regular year, sometimes it's once a month, but we have a really recurring group, and it is because we are great friends. We play games, and every game is fun and exciting and refreshing, and we always look forward to meeting again. This is a gaming podcast. That's why Eldorado Gaming is our parent site. But the secret focus of this podcast is friendship. If you're a good friend, then you can have a good gaming group. Friends are what make a gaming group fun, not just having a game that you play together. We want to make sure that we can depend on our friends and meet up with them regularly. So our first topic is what makes a good friend, and how can we start forming friends with people. Most friendships begin with something called propinquity. Propinquity is the state of being near someone. That's all it is. Whenever you're near someone for a lengthy period of time, you start creating bonds with those people. And this is why most people's first friends are from school. Adults form friendships with the people they work with. Sometimes, or hopefully more often than not, we form good friendships with people we're related to. Whenever we spend time with a person, our relationship has lots of opportunities to form commonalities and form bonds. So I'm going to go first. I'm going to talk about who my friends are. I'm going to talk about the gaming group, kind of introduce everybody and how I know them. And then I want each of you guys to share a group that you've played with or an experience from your past that showed that it takes a good friend to make a good gaming group. Benjamin, one of our co-hosts for this pod, is my brother.
Hi, guys.
We grew up together, and so we have lots of shared experiences. We lived in the same house. We went to the same schools. Like, it's just a lot of shared experiences. And I started playing Magic because I wanted something to do to reforge our bond. Benjamin is older than me. He went to college before me, kind of moved out of town before me. And when I was living in a place, we were living together, we were living far away from home, but within driving distance of each other. And I wanted a friend, somebody to connect with and talk about work with and stuff like that. And I wanted to be friends with my brother. And so that's why I chose Magic the Gathering. It was an activity that he was already doing, and I wanted to be able to bond with him. The other two guys in our gaming group are Derek and Randy. Say hi, guys.
Hey.
Hey.
And I met them in marching band. So, rehearsal 5 days a week, trips, football games, band competitions. that's how we met, and that's how we knew each other. Derek was my closer friend at the time, and we kind of formed bonds through a different mutual friend in my Boy Scout troop named Steven. But we started playing Smash Brothers, Dungeons and Dragons, Pokemon.
Rock Band.
What'd you say?
Rock Band.
Rock Band, absolutely. We played the video game Rock Band together. I did bass guitar, and Derek would sing, and Steven would be our lead guitarist, ripping up all the solos and stuff.
Yeah.
But I can still remember playing Smash Brothers late into the night, and Derek and I eventually, kind of later as we were both in college, we lived together and played Pokemon all the time. And every time I play Pokemon or start a new game, my rival is Derek. Like,
I'm flattered.
Yeah, Derek's the reason I play Pokemon. And there was a time when we were living together. I don't know if you remember this, Derek, where we were breeding Pokemon in order to specifically trip up the other person,
Yeah.
or nicknaming them something weird so that they wouldn't know whenever it was being called out. Like it was just an entire training and mindset that involved us being good friends. Derek and Randy are the ones who were really close friends, and so living with Derek increased my propinquity with Randy. I started seeing him a lot more, and we would play online games like League of Legends or Diablo. So, with Randy coming over and with Derek living in the same place, they would see me dealing with Magic cards, making decks and talking about the strategies with them. And so I taught them how to play. And eventually they started making their own decks. And now the four of us are our Magic group. Is there anything you guys want to add to that?
No,
To like how we met or how we're why we're good friends?
I don't have anything. I think you covered everything.
I just wanted to say that I have never financially recovered from this addiction of Magic. So thanks for that.
Having friends is going to be the most expensive thing you do.
That's absolutely true. And
Yeah.
I think kids, and then your friends.
I don't know.
That's why I'm not having
willing
kids.
to bet that outside of my hospital expenses for my daughter, I've probably spent more on Magic than her right now.
And we had home births, so
Yeah, but she's only, like,
we don't
2.
even have the hospital expenses.
Wait till college, and then
Yeah. And
We're going to trade school. We're going to be welders.
That's right. They're all going to be welders.
then they can afford their own college if they want it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let them join the military.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned y'all's how y'all came to be a friend group. I actually joined this friend group the latest, despite being Travis's brother, because I was off in another city when he moved here and rejoined with his high school friends and started hanging out with Derek and Randy. I've had friend groups in college, in my early career days, and then now finally back with a gaming group here. And in each city I've lived in, I've had to form a new gaming group, a new group of friends to hang out with. And it's exactly like you said, Trav. It doesn't start with the game. It starts with having friends, and then either bringing them into your games or playing the games that they want to play. And so, as we go on and we talk about our group, I'll be able to share some interesting experiences I've had in different cities, starting over, joining into existing friend groups, or finding a group of friends that want to play games with me.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about some of my previous city and portions of my life and the games I play too. I started playing Dungeons and Dragons with my Boy Scout group.
Exactly, me too.
Yeah,
Same
so
Boy Scout troop.
Boy Scouts. What'd you say, Derek?
I said me 3.
Oh yeah, that's true. I guess you did join our Boy Scout troop briefly.
Yeah.
After you joined our D&D group.
Yeah.
Yeah, Derek was backwards. He was playing D&D with us and then joined our Boy Scout troop to keep hanging out with us.
I just did all these after school things just to hang out with people.
Hey, and I think that's what it is, and that's what being a good friend is saying, how do I increase my propinquity with people that I like? And I know I keep using this complicated word propinquity, but it just means, how do I increase the time I spend with people? And that's all. So my Boy Scout troop was the first gaming group I think I really had. Mm-hmm. I was already spending time with them. We hung out once a week together, and then we would do camping trips and long road trips. And spending that time together, that was the activity that they were already doing, and that's how I got into it. Whenever I went to college, that changed again. I had to meet a couple more new people. I was literally at lunch with my girlfriend and some other people talking about how I used to play D&D when I was in high school. And then literally later that evening, my friend Richard, who Derek and Randy also know now because they briefly played like Minecraft or other online games and stuff. But Richard knocked on my door. I had never met him before. And he said, I heard you play D&D. And that was how we met. That's how we started talking. And then we were roommates for a year, too. So he helped me get with Tomas, Michael. But that was my gaming group in college, too. Even when I lived in Alpine, I went to Sol Ross in order to meet people and find clubs of people that I could get involved with. What have you guys done to make friends, or what other groups have you had besides this one? Let's start with Randy.
I had a similar one to what you're talking about just at college. So at my work, I have a Magic the Gathering playmat on my desk as like a mouse pad. And just one of my coworkers who was coming in into my office was like, "Oh, you play Magic? Oh yeah, I used to play Magic." And so we started talking about that, and then of course that led to I do Magic, but I'm also a DM for my friends, and now I run a DM or now I run a group for them as well. So I play 2 different games, and I have like 6 people all from work. That I run games for about once a month. So, just something simple like just having a desk mat out.
Derek, how about you? What other game groups have you been on? I want you to talk about your online group that you play like League of Legends with and some of your other games like Ark.
Yeah. I don't play Ark anymore, but I used to a lot.
Yeah.
So I am painfully shy and introverted. I don't really put myself out there, but I usually find like one outgoing person and kind of latch onto them, and then they bring me to new places. Mm-hmm. Like I latched onto Steven. He brought me to the D&D group. I met Travis. Travis, showed me a whole new group of people. Like it just kind of explodes into different areas that I meet people. So for like my online group, I met one person. He happened to be playing games with someone, and then later on this is like Xbox. So later on I got on and we all played together. Ended up becoming friends with them, and then they introduced me to new people, and now these people I've been friends with for 10, 12 years now. Never even met them, just play online, and we're the best of friends.
I haven't met them yet.
Yeah, that's
Right.
actually next week I'll meet them.
Benjamin, anything you want to add here?
Yeah. So my first gaming group was actually my family, right? So when I was too young to be out making my own friends and all of that, I learned games from my dad, and then would play them with my mom and with Travis here, and that kind of sparked something pretty early on to have a love of gaming. I'm sure a lot of us all learned to love games really, really early on, and so that created one of my early friendships was with a guy named Will, and he lived in the neighborhood. But when he first moved into the neighborhood, he came over and was like, do you want to hang out? This is back in the day when kids could just roam the neighborhood when they were 9 years old and knock on strangers' doors.
Wild in the streets like dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, do you want to play 13 Dead End Drive? And so Mom and I taught him that game, and we played, and eventually we moved on to, as most gaming groups do, I think, move on to heavier stuff like Monopoly and Risk, and then we were part of that scout troop that Travis mentioned earlier. That we were introduced to role playing games, Cyberpunk, and all the White Wolf games like
Mage,
the Werewolf, Ascension. Yep, and of course D&D, and it was actually during that early time that I started playing Pokemon. But I got into Pokemon because Travis was into Pokemon, and I wanted to, actually, honestly, I just wanted to beat him at games, and
that happened a lot.
Yeah, that's my motivation for everything. I just want to win.
I would show Benjamin Pokemon, he'd beat me at Pokemon. I'd show Benjamin Smash Brothers, he'd beat me at Smash Brothers. I'd show him Pokemon cards, he'd beat me at Pokemon cards.
I eventually learned that winning isn't everything, but back, little 10-year-old me thought that winning was everything. And so of course I made friends who could keep up, right? So Will, who I mentioned earlier, was a good friend precisely because I didn't always beat him, and that was fun for me. And so then moving on to college, I did start making a lot of new friends, and I started I didn't start it. I joined a longtime wargaming group. They would do like World War II games, Victory in the Pacific, War at Sea, and that's where I started learning a lot of the much more advanced board games, and that group, the guy that introduced me to that group is someone I knew from church in college, and so like Travis said, I didn't get into that looking to play a game. I got into that making friends, and the friend invited me to a game. And it turned out that we would set aside a time. I'd be there every Monday night from about 6 to 9 or later, playing these long games. And thankfully, the place where we were playing had a place where we could leave games set up. So we were playing like 8-10 hour games where we would play till we were tired, go home, go do our thing, and then pick up the game the following week. And that's in addition to all the people in my dorm. We played poker a lot. It's how I made spending money.
I remember you and Will were just in a non-stop poker frenzy.
Oh yeah, I played poker so much. But again, that was something I did with friends. It was Will, but it was also all of our friends in high school. Mm-hmm. We would go and play in Will's garage, like 10 of us. And so that's the thing. It was just games were the things to do with friends, and if there weren't games, it would have been something else, right? But
would have been
eventually
sex, drugs, or alcohol.
Probably
rock and roll.
Maybe rock and roll.
Yeah, I don't know about rock and roll, but that's a little too far. And then after college, I moved off to a brand new city to get a job after college, and didn't know anybody there. And this is where, right, there was two ways. I did start making friends once again through church, but not really a bunch of people that played Magic. And so I went to a local gaming store, LGS, and started playing in Friday Night Magic. And interesting thing is, it's real easy to show up to Friday Night Magic and not make any friends. And you play your 3 games, you take your prize packs home and whatever. But that's not really how I roll. I like to make friends with the people I play with. So I started, talking to the store owner. Always made sure I, bought all my stuff from him if he had it. Making sure, this was back when trading was more of a thing because you couldn't easily check the card prices and stuff. But trade, maybe do some trades that are a little lopsided into other people's favor. Do the sorts of things that curry favor and get people to like you, and you start talking about things. And we got to where I was traveling with some friends from that LGS to go to different Magic events, and we'd play other games. I might spend a Saturday at the LGS to looking for pickup games, but it was always the same people there, and I got to know them and got to hang out with them outside of just Friday Night Magic, and that's the sort of thing where, so there's two avenues, right? You can make friends and then invite them over to play games, or you can start playing games and make friends with those people. But I think it's important that you make friends with them, because it's really easy to do nothing but play games and never make any real connections at all. And so that was, I think a lot of people make that mistake of, they go to the LGS and they expect those people to be their friends, but they don't put any effort into making those friends.
That was my mistake when I started playing Magic. I thought that I could just go to the local store that was near me and play a game because we all agreed on the rules, right? It should be automatic that we can get along. But it would just be super, really formal, really almost, it's probably not the right word to say strict, but just so highly structured that it was hard for me to actually get to know anybody. And I was just getting started in Magic, so I would show up, lose for 2 hours, and then drive home.
This game is dumb. I don't want to play it anymore.
Well, that's why I started saying, listen, I want to play Magic, but I need to do it with somebody who can talk with me about it, somebody who can help me through, and that's why I started kind of reconnecting with Benjamin again. The times where I couldn't drive to Benjamin's city is when I would go to my local shop, but otherwise I was usually trying to go to him in order to play games with my friend, to play games with my brother instead. So that's kind of what we wanted to address, is if you are one of those people who is struggling to find a weekly game, or if you're one of those people like I was who has this game you love but nobody to play it with, then you should be thinking not about how can I play more Magic or how can I play more D&D. You should be thinking, how can I make more friends? And it might sound silly if you are, maybe 15 years old or over to be listening to a podcast that has friendship advice, but that's kind of what a lot of this podcast is going to be. We are Magic players and board gaming players and a D&D group, but the secret message of this podcast is friendship. You need to be a good friend in order to play good games. So, if you're looking for a group of friends to play your game with, then you should check with the people who you have propinquity. You should check with the people that you already spend a lot of time with. And here are some recommendations. Obviously, first, start with any existing friends. If you are still in school, if you're in high school and college, and you have people taking similar courses from you, they might be interested in learning an activity to do with you. Bring up your game in conversation and say that you'd love to teach them. Randy mentioned earlier that he has a Magic the Gathering playmat at work. When I was in college, I had posters up in my dorm room. So anytime somebody came over for anything, they'd say, hey, what's that? What's that? What are you doing? Or talking about it at lunch with people that I was still new with. Even at the early college, mixers that they would have for new freshman students. I was saying, hey, I play Dungeons and Dragons in my Boy Scout group. Bringing up all of those things are ways to just cast out my net and say the things that I'm interested in doing and looking for people with similar interests to me. Benjamin, tell us about that next thing, about how you got into the wargaming, even though that wasn't your primary thing.
Yeah, so I had a friend that I knew through church who was part of this long-term group that met a long time, and it was him, his dad, and a couple other guys, and so it was kind of a rotating group. It wasn't the same four. There were about 6 or 7 of us, and that way, if someone couldn't make it for a game, we'd play a 5-player game, we'd play a 4-player game, and that provided some really good flexibility for who would do it. But the guy, 1 week, in fact, it was celebrating his birthday. He said, "Hey, after we're gonna have dinner for my birthday, and then I'm gonna go to my gaming group. Do you want to come with me? And we can play a 4-player game. And we only have 3 players this week." I said, "Okay, sure." And so I went with him, and it was cool. So I met the other 3 guys there, and they introduced me. They taught me this game that I had never played before. Wasn't at all familiar with it. What was it? I think it was a Dracula-based game. I forget the name of it at the moment, but basically it's like 3 people chase Dracula around the world, and
Where in the world is Dracula?
right, something like that.
Dracula San Diego.
And then if
Derek is sitting there saying, "I need to look up this game. This sounds awesome."
It's a cool game. I mean, all these games that we played were really cool, and it's where I learned my favorite game. My favorite board game is a game called Successors. I had never heard of it before until one of these guys was like, "We're going to play Successors this week," and now it's one of my favorite games. I've gone to the World Board Gaming Championships with the guy that brought me to this group. He and I go play. He's world ranked at Victory in the Pacific, and he tries to get me to play whenever he can't find anybody else to play. But I've gone. His dad and I have both competed in the World Board Gaming Championships for this game called Successors up in Pennsylvania, and basically it was cool just getting to know these people because I had this friend that I knew from another part of my life, and so he knew I was interested because I think as part of our church group, we had sometimes played some of the simpler games like Settlers of Catan or
Everyone's gateway board game.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the gateway.
Yeah.
Invest in one of those, and the friends will come.
And so he had been around when I'd been playing those types of games, so he knew I was interested in games.
Board games for babies.
Well, yeah, because the place I was living, this was in grad school, in law school. I was living in a house with like 30 other people, and we were always playing games. And that's part of it's the same sort of thing where, the people around you are who you play games with. And in this case, when you're living in a house with 30 college students, everybody wants to do something sometime. Mm-hmm. And so you make friends with the people that want to do the same things that you want to do. And he knew that I hung out with this group. He wasn't part of this house, but he said, "Hey, you like playing games? Let's try some of the harder stuff." So the gateway drug, as it were, he said, "You think that stuff's good? I've got the heroin.
I got the preem stuff.
First hit's free, but next is
I
gonna
think the first one's free.
Now I'm getting you into Warhammer 40K.
It's the same thing with Magic.
It's
the same thing with Magic. It's like, hey kid, first here's your first pack. Oh, cool. And then you get a rare, and you think it's cool, but it's bulk, but you don't know.
I had a friend in a different group when I started teaching. One of my coworkers' husbands was a Magic gamer. I briefly hung out with their group, but I hung out with them long enough for them to get me into Warhammer 40K, for them to take me to a Games Workshop and get a start collecting box full of little Nurgle demons. And now I have a huge pile of unpainted, unglued, uncrafted models that I would love to get to eventually. But, God, I've spent a lot of money on that and no one to play it with anymore.
I was going to ask, have you used any of these in an actual game yet? Or are
I
they
have
all just
played
decorations
a
still?
Death Guard game. I have played a Warhammer game with my Death Guard army and won one time. One single time.
Uh-huh.
Probably about 3 years ago.
This sounds like how I do hobbies. I put a lot of money into it, get really invested in it, do it one time, and then I move on.
That sucks. I'm out of here.
Yeah. But
Derek
I have
hangs
a
up
3D
off the
printer,
call.
and I've
I'm
made
out.
about 5 things on it. And that's
But Randy,
it.
I know that you haven't done that with Magic, and I think it's because your friends play Magic.
Because my friends
We
play
are
it.
good friends.
Yes. I make these sacrifices for y'all.
My thing about getting into Warhammer is and kind of goes along with what you said, Benjamin, is they the people you're friends with will bring up the aspects of the game that they think I would like. So the guy that I was hanging out with, his name was Sean, and he would tell me some of the lore behind these Warhammer factions and aliens and the Empire and all this stuff. And then you show me the artwork, the strategy, and all of it, and the craftsmanship of the pieces. Even the act of building models and painting them is something that I have found really peaceful, really calming, a great way to get through a season of an anime that I haven't gotten to yet is to pull out a couple miniatures and then stick that on in the background and just go. So that is a major way. If you want to be the person getting people into your game, you got to talk about it all the time. You can't be embarrassed by what your love is.
I was going to say, I mean, along this line, it's just, like advertise yourself. Like Randy said that he's got the magic mouse pad. He's also got like pins of like different hobbies and interests he has, like little anime pins, magic pins, pop culture stuff, which is, hey, this is like a billboard saying, hey, I'm into this. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, all on my my game bag.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely, is advertise yourself and the things you want to do, and the other people who are interested in those things or even curious about those things will ask you about it. Benjamin and I have both been teachers for the last, I was a teacher for 9 years. Benjamin is still teaching. Benjamin, what year teaching are you on to?
I just finished year 6.
Yeah, so we decorate our classroom, which in any other realm might be your office or your cubicle or whatever. But in order to get kids to join my Magic the Gathering group after school, I had some artwork of Nicol Bolas up. And I was always advertising, this game that I play and trying to use it in a way to let kids know more about me, to see if they were interested in this club I was running. And it's the same way in real life with your coworkers. And that's one of our next points. Now, coworkers can be a little bit harder because they're not just friends that you've chosen to hang out with. Coworkers are people that you have to spend time with.
You're contractually obligated.
You're being paid money to spend time with them. If you are looking for people that you have high propinquity with, people you spend a lot of time with, your coworkers are one of those. You see them all the time. And so this is an avenue of ways that you can get people in. It's come up already that Randy has a Magic the Gathering playmat at his work, and so people will ask about it. If your game has any merch, artwork, accessories, sometimes at school I would wear a Star Wars tie. All of these things are designed to get people's attention. So use them that way. Set them up in your workplace, in the area where you work, and people are likely to ask about it. You can be subtle. You don't have to advertise or be a billboard for yourself at work. It can be more subtle, and people looking to make work a more pleasant experience will seek you out. Did anybody want to add anything about coworkers?
It can be challenging, at least for me.
Yeah.
I work in an old people industry. It's just like it's passed on by old people to old people. I don't know. So I'm not saying that they're not there, but trying to find someone who's like 60 when I'm like at the time was like 25, 26. Like, hey, you into Magic? You into video games?
They're like, Pong?
You got any kids or grandkids I can hang out with?
I would be careful thinking that old people don't play Magic, though. That was part of the group that I was playing with in that city when I moved to San Angelo. Some of those people, they played with their kids. They were older or had kids who had just graduated, and now they're in their 50s or early 60s, and they're playing what their kids were playing, and now they don't have their kids to play with. So it's kind of an interesting people you wouldn't expect, and they have a ton
the game's
of money.
30 years old, so if they got into it when they were young and had disposable income, I mean, because that's when we get into games, is now that we have
Yeah.
disposable income and things to spend our money on.
Yeah.
Benjamin, I'm so glad that you brought up family members earlier. As we were planning this episode, I had completely forgotten that I don't know if it's a memory I blocked out or something because you beat me so often, but playing games was absolutely a family thing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember the board game Bonkers. Do you remember playing
Yes.
Bonkers?
Yes.
It was this game where every game space would change every game because you would draw a card and you would put that card onto that game space. So imagine a game like Risk or Pandemic Legacy where you're doing stickers or things like that, except this was just a card that changed the game board every single game you played. And the game was just a roll the dice, move your piece game, but it was fun and different every single time. I remember a story that Mom always tells about Monopoly, saying that I had such good luck I won a game of Monopoly when I was 3 years old.
Yep, I remember that.
Just because people would roll the dice, land on the things that I had automatically bought because they were the spaces I rolled around on, or the spaces I landed my piece on, and that was it. That was the good luck I had to win a game of Monopoly at 3 years old. So
Yep.
family
He's still
members. That's true. I am pretty lucky. I pulled that foil Urza Lord High Artificer in that Dominaria remastered pack a couple weeks ago.
We split a box of Dominaria Remastered, and he got all sorts of good stuff.
It was in one pack. I got that foil Urza Lord High Artificer and Yawgmoth Thran Physician.
Yeah.
in the same pack,
In the same pack.
which was really good.
it was
gross.
Since I wanted both of those people. What'd you say, Derek?
That Urza has always been my go nuclear card, and now other people have the nukes
That's
too.
right.
So it's
Sorry,
like,
buddy. You missed your
okay.
chance in the arms race. So family members are a great source of people you can play games with. Ideally, family members are supposed to love you anyway. You can ideally spend time with your family members. And I think, Benjamin, that mom's side of the family is really good at this. You know, games like Boggle, Carcassonne,
Yep.
like, or even just things like Uno, or other card games. Our family card game was Hand and Foot. Things that just get us all around, an activity that we do together while we spend time talking and doing what good friends do, spending time and talking about our lives. So you can get family members into your game by talking about your game. Talk to them the same way about how this activity brings you joy. You can talk to your family members about the strategy, the lore, the artwork from your game, or the craftsmanship of the pieces, the aspects of the game that you like, that you think are really attractive. You can talk to your family members about them too, and someone will latch on. Does anybody want to add anything here? Actually, Derek, can you talk about how you got Wesley to do murder mystery parties with us?
Yeah, so growing up, my brother and I were not friends. We were as close to enemies as two family members could get, until I guess we both grew up, moved out, and I guess, it's like, hey, I kind of miss him. And just kind of. So I think it was COVID. Was it 2020? I think for my birthday party, right before COVID happened or something. I don't remember what the timeline was. My wife bought this like murder mystery box where we all dressed up as characters. And we have our normal group of like me, Travis, Randy, and our wives that play. And was like, oh, we should get some more people. So I called my brother. I didn't think he'd be interested. But I'm like, hey, love to have you if you want to. We're all dressing up, acting like fools, and trying to solve a mystery. And turns out he did. It's not something we'd ever talked about before. Not an interest we've ever shared with each other. But now I know that if if I want to do it in the future, he's down. He'll do it. We've actually done it twice since.
Yeah, we did the murder on the train one. and then we
then
did the carnival one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was pretty good. He was just playing along and getting into it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I know my dad would be super into Warhammer. He used to build models and stuff like that when he was a kid. And I know if he just gave it a shot, he'd be into it.
Have you
You
shown
should
him
buy him a
your,
starter set.
Your dinosaur start collecting your reptilian group or whatever?
No, I haven't. He'd be like, okay, that's cool, I guess.
Derek's like, dear God, are you
But
kidding?
do you really want your dad, spending your future inheritance all on a Warhammer?
Then one day it would be his.
I don't even know. Yeah.
Yes, he just inherits 8,000 minis, and it's like, this is
I'm financially
Derek's
really
like, what am I going to
everywhere.
do with all of these space marines?
Go win some tournaments, of course.
I
they're
have
all
a
unpainted,
full-
you
Why
monster.
Holy dude, Space
I have an
Marines.
actual chapter of Space Marines. Literal 1,000 tiny Space Marines. I've seen those guys online. It's insane.
You gotta slay the gray. Yeah, I've almost gotten my brother and his wife into playing D&D. Like, we did the character sheets, but it's just, they live like about 2 hours away, so
Just
it's hard
right at
to
that barrier where it's hard to
get-
get him in. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that, I have the character sheets, and I have a beginner thing for him to run eventually. If we ever get a chance, but I think they could get into it. But my brother's also not as nerdy as I would say most of us are. He's more of a car guy.
Yeah. Do you think he'd be a poker guy?
I can see it.
Probably. Yeah, I could see it. My brother's pretty like basic white pick.
I think poker
John every
would be
guy.
another gateway into Magic.
Yes, absolutely.
I really think it is.
If you want a more complicated
Because
poker.
there's a lot of the bluffing aspects are still part of it, and knowing the combos and the cards that go together. I think it could.
Losing your money.
Being broke. I think it's a really easy
I'm
gate.
really living the experience, guys.
Missing rent payments.
Eating
Child support? Who needs child support?
crackers
Here's an
and
Urza.
So those are some places you can look for friends. And I've left this one for the end on purpose. The local game store. I think a lot of people think the local game store is where they will find friends, just because if I meet people doing the same activity as me, then I will have automatic friends. We've already agreed on the rules for something, and so we know how to act with each other. I think that looking to start your game group at the local game store is, to me, I would recommend it as a last resort. Like, I did not have fun going to my game store. They had their inner cliques. It was really difficult as a stranger to just talk about and to play this game with.
I was gonna say, I imagine it's a lot like, I like Marvel movies, so I'm gonna go watch a movie at the theaters, whatever Marvel movie's currently playing, and expect to make friends.
Yeah.
Watching this movie.
Yeah, I've had the experience. I was shopping for a cigar, and I went to a shop that had its own little lounge area, and of course the shop owner was super nice. Of like, hey, we welcome new people all the time. But the three people who were sitting in there just looked daggers at me, like I did not belong. So
You were probably like 40 years too young.
at the time,
Probably
probably
why.
I could probably get in now
Throwing his life
with my
away.
bald head and my beard. So one common interest does not a friend make. I think that if your Magic group gets together literally only to play Magic, then I think that is going to be a hollow experience.
Yep.
So what our group does now is we meet at a game store. We have a central game store that we play with. And would you guys agree that it's always more fun if we can play at somebody's house?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Always. It is always a better experience for me or for us if we can meet at somebody's house to play. We bring our own snacks. We eat when we want. We eat where we want, and we
Climate
just don't
control.
have a stranger, walking around or coming up to try to get into our meta. And I know and I don't say that to say, be the exclusive one, that our group is the best one. But if I'm doing this activity to be with my friends, then those are the people I want to hang out with, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I at this point in my life, and I say this because I did it when I was young, I wouldn't go to a game store with the express purpose of picking up games with randoms. Like, and you guys know me, I have decks I want to try out all the time. But you're not going to find me going by myself to a shop and just saying, "Man, I really hope I can get into some pods today." I feel like
I'm not brave enough.
What'd you say?
I'm not brave enough to just put myself out there by myself. I gotta.
Well, I feel like I'm at the point though. I have y'all, but if I didn't have y'all, I think, so if it is your last resort, don't be afraid to give it a try though.
Sure.
Definitely go to the store
Yeah.
and try to make those connections. If you see a group of like 2 people or a group of 3, just say like, "Hey, what are y'all playing? Can I get a game?" Because you gotta make that leap.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely made a lot of friends doing that.
Yeah.
But it's not. But it goes to what you said, where it did not become about the Magic, right? You go, right? You might meet friends playing Magic, but then when the store closed, a lot of us would be like, "Hey, let's go eat at there's a Taco Bell right by the store," and just say, "Hey,
Yep.
let's go to Taco Bell afterwards and hang out," or let's, what are you doing tomorrow, or whatever, and let it grow into something more than just playing Magic. And I say this as someone who, when I'll be honest, when we get together, it's because it's basically my only chance to play games nowadays. And
Yeah.
I kind of get a little antsy and being like, when are we gonna play, y'all? But it's actually really good that we take time to eat first, that we talk about stuff that's going on, and maybe it makes the turns take a little longer, and maybe it makes we only get in 3 games instead of 5. But it makes for a more sustainable friendship. Well, obviously, it makes for a friendship at all, and it makes for a more sustainable group. And so, I do. I think a lot of where this podcast will end up going is how do you? Is basically you're dealing with your own maturity, because it's something I have to overcome to be like, this is all about the game, because it's not all about the game, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's about you guys.
Aww.
Yeah. I guess
Friendship.
that's the kind of the bow tie for the whole thing, is that the activity or the game doesn't matter. It's the people you spend time
Yeah.
with doing that thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a couple guys that I used to play Apex with, and yeah, Apex you can play on your own and get random teammates and stuff like that, but like, I hated playing that game if I wasn't playing with them. Playing with them though, loved it, had so much fun because I was playing with them. But outside of that, it was like, I played a game or 2, and then I would.
I will
call it
never
a day.
play League of Legends
It's just-
if 1 or 2 of you are not in the party with me.
I can't do it.
Like, that is
Yeah.
just not something that I
Yeah,
will
no.
ever do by myself.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever play League of Legends with Derek because he
That's not-
gets too salty too fast.
I am trying to be better.
But back in the day, you raged so hard that it kind of, like, I don't want to play this game anymore. Ah! It's like, okay, we're not playing this game anymore this week.
Yeah. I like to win, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
trying to play for fun now.
Yeah, and I think that's where this, for a future episode, is like, how have we adapted to make it more, we've all become better people. I've watched it happen.
Yeah.
And part of that comes from caring about the people you play with, and that's something you just don't get with randoms at an LGS. Is you don't care, and your experience is based on what you want, and you don't have fun when someone else is deck does this thing and yours doesn't, right? Losing isn't fun, but I have fun losing with y'all, and so it's different.
I try.
And,
I try to lose with
if
grace.
you're if you're trying to make those friends though,
Don't be like me.
yeah, don't be like him. If someone else's deck pops off, or if they're doing something in a different game and they're just killing it, like,
Hey man, you're doing a great job. Great deck.
really pay attention to it and be like, wow, this is amazing. There's a YouTuber I watch, named Dr. Doya.
I love watching his streams. He's doing Street
Yeah,
Fighter stuff. His
he
Dragon
does-
Ball Fighters gameplay is so good because he always just gives major props when people catch him up on something.
Yeah, that's why I like. Even when he's losing, he's laughing his ass off.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's fine.
Yeah, but he's laughing as he's just getting comboed and juggled, and because he's appreciating like the art of the game, basically. So I think just being able to lose and realize it is a game, and someone's got to lose, and you can't always win.
Games have
so.
to end and people have to lose.
If you're gonna
so it might
lose-
as well be fun while you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can't win, you might do something fun, You might just do something kind of like random to just kind of throw the whole board off their balance. Because sometimes chaos is fun.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Now I will say this, just as a slight aside, if you are into the game, sometimes you want to get competitive, right? Like I played Modern and Standard in Magic for a long time, and that's not something when I'm playing a deck that I want to win, I don't want to play with y'all. I want to go to the LGS and play randos and try to beat what I don't know instead of trying to adapt to y'all or trying to make y'all feel good or anything like that. And when we go to Magic Fest, if we ever do that again, sometimes y'all spend the weekend together, and sometimes I'm just gonna go join a tournament and win some prizes.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with that. If you're gonna beat the tar out of someone, don't beat the tar out of me. I get enough of that.
Well, there is a class of people where they've all agreed that is why they're there.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone in that tournament has agreed that winning is the point, and that
friendship is second.
Friendship is going to happen somewhere else. And I think that's really cool. That's saying this is a group of people, and we're going to see who understands this game the best. As a competition of who knows all the ins and outs. Magic is the world's most complicated game.
Yeah.
So, who understands it better?
Fact.
Who understands it the best this weekend? I think that's a really neat way and a really neat social contract that can be enforced to say we're going to find out who understands this game the best. And I actually think that some hyper-competitive groups, and the game, for anybody who hasn't yet figured it out, we play Commander in Magic the Gathering. It's a 4-player format. There is a subsect of that format called competitive EDH, or Elder Dragon Highlander, and that is their social contract, is we want to see who will win every single game no matter what. And those groups are actually very healthy because there's no such thing as hard feelings after your board gets messed up.
Well, there shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be, yeah. But that can make for really healthy games or really healthy groups because they have established norms. And coming from education, hopefully a lot of professions do this, is any profession that has people working as a team, they should be establishing norms, rules to work with. And even friend groups should do that. When I was in college, they made me do a roommate contract. Did any of you guys have to do a roommate contract in college?
I didn't.
No.
I'm not
We
a dweeb.
had to put it in writing at my dorm. Like, we had to come up with, what will you and your roommate do if you disagree over, and then it listed like 3 different common things, like temperature, something else and visitors. I don't know. And we had to like codify and write out how we would talk to each other.
Wow.
I'm just gonna say one thing: when it comes to temperature, it's always the colder temperature wins because you can bundle up, and I can only take off so much before people start getting uncomfortable. Okay.
And that brings us to how you can make friends at the LGS. Things you can do to start making friends. And the first one is hygiene.
Yep.
Do not be the person at the LGS with their butt crack hanging out. And I'm talking to you specifically, if you're listening, that one guy from
Weak. Butt crack's just sitting
Shots
there
fired.
waiting for me to look at it.
It is like a beacon. And,
It's taunting
and I
me.
will see it across.
It's asking for quarters.
Store. Derek and Randy were talking before we started recording about a guy at. Can y'all tell us about that guy?
I mean, I maybe you should bleep out the name or don't include the name. I don't want to be. You don't want to get
I'll
some letters
bleep
from.
out.
We just lost our sponsor.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh god!
Your only sponsor is me.
All right. So
Yeah, so Randy and I went to this place. I think we were looking for Pathfinder books, or maybe we were just goofing off or something. I don't know what we were doing.
yeah, we look for Pathfinder.
I am a pretty sensitive person when it comes to like smells. I will gag at a heartbeat. Just the weirdest smell. I'm gone. And this person, I don't know. Maybe not showering for weeks or something. I don't know what it was. But they reeked, and they walked past me, and I almost threw up on the floor in there, and I had to like run out. And Rainey's over there looking for me. I was just like, I can't go back in.
Yeah, I'm trying to pay out, and then the same person walked by me while I was paying out, but I'm standing in line, and I'm like, I can't leave until I make my purchase. And yeah, it was pretty rough. It was the first time I had smelled a BO that like actually had like a slight burning to the nose and eyes.
I mean, people aren't going to want to
like-
be near you if you reek.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how nice you are, it doesn't matter how handsome you are. If you don't bathe, if you don't do any kind of hygiene, yeah, it's just gonna repel everyone. And I mean, we were in back in my car, and like the thought of it was still making him
Yeah, I was having
like
flashbacks.
dry heave and lurching just. So yeah, that's a big one. Is
That is the day I pulled Thrun though, so maybe it was.
It was destiny.
You had to pay your penance.
it was
Yeah.
balancing
Yeah.
the cosmic scale.
I think that people just need to understand that there are cultural norms that if you want to make a friend, you have to follow them, because there's certain expectations that we live in a society, and you don't run around
Societies
shooting
only
people.
function because of rules.
That's right, and you may find a few friends that also want to be rebels without a cause, but for the most part, people have agreed to things like we smell good,
or shower.
and we cover up sensitive cracks and things like that, and if you don't follow those basic cultural rules, then your potential friends group shrinks considerably. And I do want to be considerate. I know that there are people out there that have trouble following social cues and all of that, and I would say that this is the perfect podcast for you if you're listening, because we're going to tell you some of those things. But also, there are some cultural norms that are talked about a lot, that even if you don't pick up on the social cue, you can make a conscious effort to say, oh, I've heard it enough that I know that I need to shower. Maybe not necessarily every day, but probably every other day. If you are larger, if you tend to sweat, if you tend to be warm more often, or that sort of thing. And
I'm a sweater.
yeah,
I can't
I mean,
stop sweating.
I think all of us are.
My house is 69 degrees, and I'm over here
Nice.
wiping my brow.
I have dry skin, so my skin just kind of sucks back in.
Oh, that's nice.
It just sloughs off.
Yeah.
But same thing with clothing, right? If it's revealing certain parts of your body that aren't culturally acceptable, like butt cracks, wear a belt. You know if it does that or not. And if you're not sure, ask somebody at the LGS. Hey, am I showing back there? I can, I feel a draft.
I can
And
It's a little breezy.
and yeah, it only takes a few times of just checking it, and then you'll learn. You know what? Suspenders are amazing.
Longer
And-
shirts.
Make them back.
Yeah,
Bring them back.
yeah. You know what? The older you are, the less people judge you for what you wear, as long as it's functional. I'll be honest.
Yep, it's totally true.
And the less you care what
if
people
Derek
think.
or Randy or Travis showed up in suspenders, I wouldn't be like, "Oh my god, such a dork." I would
I
say,
did
"Oh,"
suspenders to a wedding once. I looked like Larry King,
and it was awesome, wasn't
and
it?
it was awesome.
Exactly.
I loved it.
Right. So don't be afraid of not doing something that you could be to make friends because you're worried about losing friends. Like that kind of, if suspenders would keep you from turning off Derek, then wear them. Right? He's not going to judge you for wearing suspenders, but he will judge you for showing your butt crack.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Flaunting it.
right.
Derek, would you really judge me for flaunting my butt crack?
No.
We're past that.
This is coming from
Yeah.
a man whose body has been seen way too much has been seen
Who, me or Travis?
by you, did.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. I also just want to add on to the whole like showering thing. Is it's like we're not trying to like. We understand that like there's sometimes that is something that's out of your control. You're not the one that maybe you don't pay the water bill because you're 17. So just kind of want to that's like it's not your fault sometimes, but if you have the ability to,
Right.
then do it.
Yeah.
What my wife and I watch a lot of reality TV. We watch The Bachelor, Perfect Match, Love is Blind, and I hear this phrase of people trying to start relationships, and friendship is a relationship. Don't let anybody tell you different. People will talk about the vibe that they get from a person, or the feeling of someone that they feel they could be a good friend. I think that just checking the vibe or the feeling of someone, I really think that is a myth. There are moves that you can take to be a good friend. Friendship takes work, it takes effort, and it's not automatic. There are things that you have to think about and do in order to be a good friend. And so I've come up with just a few, and obviously you guys are welcome to add on any that you think. If you are trying to teach your game, and we're going to do an episode specifically about Magic the Gathering coming up soon, but if you are trying to teach your game, you should ask them, did you like the game? Is there anything I could have done better? Look for feedback, look to be receptive, and be open to change, and actually codify it with words, with questions. What could I have done? Or did you like the game? Or is there an aspect of the game you want to know more about? When I started playing Magic the Gathering, it was during a set called Innistrad that had a lot of graveyard stuff. Which anybody who's not a Magic player, that just means that you can keep using your discard pile even after cards are there. So even after you've used a card or a card gets discarded, the graveyard is still a resource in Magic the Gathering, and this particular set really emphasized that. So as Benjamin's trying to teach me, I'm asking questions about the graveyard. I want to know more about it. You can use literal questions like, what was your favorite part? Or I liked the part where. You can kind of debrief with people after having hung out with them. Sometimes this happens over text message. Sometimes it's as the end, as you're doing your goodbyes in the parking lot or whatever. Something that I think our group does really well is that we just outright say to each other, usually over text after everybody's gotten home, I had fun. You just have to actually say it. Confirm that you're having a good time. I had fun hanging out with you. I want to do it again. or I liked when X, Y, and Z happened. In the communications theory business, this is called iMessages. You want to say what you liked and how something affected you. It comes up a lot in conflict resolution. We use iMessages to talk about actions that we don't like, but you can do it when you're friendship forming too. You can specifically say, I liked the part where, and then describe when somebody did a good thing. It's not clingy. It's not weird. People are going to be refreshed when you tell them outright in clear words that you enjoyed their company. No secret messages, no, reading between the lines necessary. You just tell them that you enjoyed your time with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to add on to this real quick. So when I started to DM for my work group, I had been at this job for a few years, but I still really wasn't super close friends with them. They were work friends. People that I enjoy talking to at work. So whenever I started the game with them, I was beforehand, what kind of game are you looking to play? I wanted to get a feel for what they enjoyed, so that I could tailor the game to them, because I wanted them to enjoy the game and us to keep playing. That's kind of a way that I worked, worked at it so that everyone was enjoying it. And then after each session, I'll ask them. I was like, "Hey, did you like that?" I asked them what was your favorite part, and that way I can kind of get to know, this person likes combat, this person likes roleplay. This person maybe just wants to just kind of be there with their friends, and they're not too into like the nitty gritty of the game itself. But they're there.
That's what
for
we
fun,
have to do for my wife, Kristen,
and
whenever we play D&D.
Yeah,
because she's just there because we want her there.
Yeah,
my wife too.
Yeah, she's just.
God bless them.
Derek, I feel like your wife is getting more into it. Like, I think she really enjoys it. But yeah, I mean, I've known these guys for a long time, so I know what Derek wants. Derek wants to fight big monsters. Derek wants to feel, and a good story, but Derek wants to feel like a badass, and he wants to,
want it all.
Wrangle an ogre, by his neck and ride him into town or something like that.
I just want to suplex everything I see.
That is 100% how Travis got Derek into Magic. Travis said, Derek, so this is the color green.
Yep.
Green has big monsters that do big damage.
I got Derek to play,
and they got lots of teeth.
Just all creatures you control have trample.
Never changed.
Travis knew exactly where to
pressure point.
Yeah, big monsters, dinosaurs. When Ixalan came out, yeah. So, but yeah, I kind of like ask, what did y'all enjoy? What did y'all not enjoy? And it helps you just kind of,
tailor
if you're able to tailor your experience.
90% of the time when I'm scrolling through Reddit and people are asking, social prickly problems, the solution is to just literally talk about your feelings. Talk about what you enjoyed, and the same is true when you're talking about things that you don't like too. Is you can just outright tell them and use your healthy iMessages. Focus on the actions that people have done, and if you're friendship forming, then you're going to focus on the good actions people do and the things that you like. And that's what we, of course, want to focus on as we talk about having good, healthy play groups. And we will do plenty of other episodes, I'm sure, where we address where we talk about how to address prickly social problems. Derek, Benjamin, either of y'all want to add anything here?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
The last little bit I wanted to say is start a group chat. If you've got Facebook or any text messaging service, I think WhatsApp is another common one. Start a group chat, keep it active. Communication and, like we've said the entire time, propinquity, the time you spend together, you can increase that time together in a group chat. by talking even when you're not physically in the same place. Obviously, you can talk about your normal lives. You can use memes, articles, spoilers, especially if it's a game like Magic the Gathering that's constantly being updated. But you can talk about your normal lives too. Remember that you're working on cultivating friends, not captives or tools or hostages just to play your game with.
Speak for yourself.
And I want to thank you guys for joining my podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
You have to be open to doing things that your friends like too. Your friend group can't only be about your game. You have to be open to doing other things that other people like. Friends are there for each other, and not just for good times or fun times, but for hard stuff too. Any closing remarks from anybody else?
No, I'm just happy that this is another stage in our friendship that we get to put on display, and I hope it really helps some other people both play more games and have deeper connections with their friends.
We're just really peacocking what great friends we are.
Yeah.
Power of friendship.
This is like that Yu-Gi-Oh episode where
They all paint on their
where
hands.
Taya draws a smiley face on everybody's hands together, and they just totally Power Rangers up and just pose up a storm. All right.
It works. I don't know.
Well, guys, thank you
It's
so
on
much
Joey.
for listening to the first pilot episode of My Mythical Meta. This show is brought to you by our sponsor, Eldorado Gaming. Eldorado Gaming is a site for gifts and gaming accessories like dice, playmats, and other items to really bring out your game. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Eldorado Gaming. Just search Eldorado Gaming and you'll find us on all of those platforms. And we also have a home site, eldoradogaming.com. If you've lost us anywhere else, you can find us there, and you can follow the links to any of our other stuff. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
This podcast was edited by me, Travis Konishek, and our intro and outro music is by Tyler Heath of the Oh Hellos. Check him out.